Cross to the back post. Araujo! Score! Julian Araujo! 1-0 Galaxy!
And the LA Galaxy right back. Julian Araujo puts the ball in the back of the net from the left winger's position.
The race to Sace is on. The LA Galaxy are headed to the conference semifinals. Who will they face there? Oh, well, you know this matchup. You love this matchup. We're keeping it in LA. El Traffico. Coming up next Thursday. That's in the Western Conference on the other side after the first day of the Audi 22 MLS Cup Playoffs. FC Cincinnati. Upset special. 5 seed. Go to Red Bull Arena. 2 goals in the second half to come back from a 1-0 deficit. They are on to the second round here against the Philadelphia Union, and we know those connections. I'm Andrew Wiebe in the Audi, in the AT&T 5G virtual studios. Welcome on in, Calen Carr, Charlie Davies, Matt Doyle. Let's just go. First thoughts, guys. First day. Doyle, what are you feeling?
I'm feeling like my bracket is busted, man. I had Red Bulls in Nashville advancing, but
too bad for you. Mine looks really nice.
You're looking like a genius right now, Wiebe. No, the two teams in Cincy and especially the Galaxy, who came out and played more soccer, got the job done, and I can never say that I'm unhappy to see that type of thing rewarded.
The color of the day is pink, Calen. Julian Araujo did not have a goal this year. He did not get to participate in that 2019 game going all the way back against LAFC in the playoffs. He scores the goal today, gets the header at the back post, had a moment with Ricky Puig and Chicharito. You thought the Galaxy went up, but their response was perfect. 1-0 is the final score. They're back. They're moving on.
Yeah, the Galaxy were in control throughout the entirety of the match. I mean, at halftime, I think they had 67% of the possession. It felt like 80. They had complete control, and it was just a matter of when, more than anything. They were going to break through. They had the one called back, of course. I think those were a correct decision. But Puig had control of the game. Brugman, they were on the ball everywhere. Chicharito was up for it. And yes, let's not bury the headline. We're going to get an El Traffico in the playoffs now. So Thursday, I mean, that's what everybody was looking forward to. Even though my bracket looked a little bit different, I thought Nashville would have more to say than they did today. But yeah, all eyes will be on Thursday. That's going to be one of the most anticipated matches I can remember in a long time.
Who's the star of the day for you, Charlie? Who stole the show? You can take it to the East. You can take it to the West. Who are we remembering after day one of these playoffs?
I think you got to go with Brandon Vazquez on the road, New York Red Bulls, the striker, not getting national team calls, but delivering for his club, and heading into a game against the Philadelphia Union, who are unbeaten at home. But I will add, in both matches this year, he has scored against the Union.
Yeah.
In the last match against the Union, they beat them 3-1 in Cincinnati. Now, what is, I think, really helping this team in terms of mentality heading into this game is they're one of 5 teams to get a result in Subaru Park. So now you say, we've beat them at home, we've gotten a result on the road, and we didn't even have some of our players now that we have ready. Let's go. We've seen their best. They've come at us. We've handled it. We know what it takes to get a result. So I think that's a big confidence boost for Brandon Vazquez, considering now he's scored 4 goals in his last 5 matches.
David Goss has an interview with Brandon Vazquez. We'll get to it in a little bit. Same with Pat Noonan. Chicharito will be with Susanna Collins in just a second. Julian Araujo, the hero of the day, as well. Galaxy move on. 1-0 winners. Cincinnati 2-1 winners. We will break that game down more in just a little bit, but you want the highlights to this game that just ended on Univision. Galaxy, Nashville, the first half. Calen, not much going on here. Galaxy wanted the ball. Nashville wanted to wait, see what materialized. But Galaxy also survived some scares.
Yeah, this was the one big chance in the first half. And then they opened the half, and Hani Mukhtar is able to get one in behind. You'd think if they could have put one of those away, of course, that changed the projection of the game. But other than that, there really wasn't much. The Galaxy got that one big misstep. This was one where Nashville just falls asleep, and credit to Puig here. I love the little shimmy and the layoff, and then a fantastic finish here from Chicharito, who was dialed in throughout the match. But as I mentioned, I really think it really was more about if than when it was going to happen. as it switched for the Galaxy. They were able to create some nice overloads. You see again on the goal from Araujo that it was Grandsir as well as Custa on the same right-hand side. And then Araujo, who's yet generally the one serving this ball in, makes an intelligent run where he starts the play and then goes and finishes it off in the box. So that was really so much of the attention goes to Chicharito, especially when the ball gets wide, that you kind of felt like it was going to be maybe a third man runner or somebody who came into the box late that was going to be able to make the difference.
Doyle, was there an issue here for Nashville in terms of personnel? I mean, first of all, Gary Smith was not in LA today. He is sick. We hope he feels better. He will not be headed to LA. That was the plan had they won this game. But in the midfield, you don't start Dax McCarty, and maybe that was an issue with fitness. But either way, you saw Nashville change just that little bit when he came on. Was that a mistake?
Yeah, I think it was. I look, Sean Davis and Brian Anunga are good players, but they don't bring any dimensions in terms of pushing the game forward and getting it into good spots in the way that Dax McCarty and Anibal Godoy do. And I think if you want to look at the difference between this year's Nashville team and last year's team, which made it, I think, all the way to the conference finals, and the year before they made it to the conference semifinals, they had Godoy and Dax in central midfield running the show. So that, yeah, they were still a team that played against the ball a lot, but they were a team that when they did get on the ball, they could use it to crack you open and pull you apart on more than just counters. And in this game, it was either for Nashville, it was either Jonathan Bond, passing the ball directly to them, or just that one sort of misstep by the Galaxy right after the halftime break. And other than that, Nashville didn't create anything. And when it's happening like that, you point to the center midfield. The other thing is, like, they made an obvious commitment to defending in the box. That's why they played they played 5 at the back. They wanted to dare the Galaxy into crossing the ball from bad spots 50 times. And the Galaxy, to their credit, did not take the bait. If you look at the way this team played in the past, they have settled for useless crosses from the touchline, which leads to breaks in the other direction. The Galaxy worked the ball around. They were really patient, sometimes too patient. And eventually, the goal itself, they got multiple runners in the box. They got to the side of the box, and that allowed Grandsir to pick Julian Araujo up at the back post. Like Calen said, that was a really clever run. He laid the ball off, and then he ran across the top of the box while Chicharito was dragging 3 defenders to the near post. Really clever, really well-worked goal. Came after 65 seconds of sustained pressure from the Galaxy, where they absolutely did not let Nashville reset. And in a game like this, honestly, the team that sort of grabs hold of it and is the protagonist, that's the team that usually walks away with the win.
All right, 5 days. That's how much time we've got to wait till Thursday, October 20th. What's going down that day? Oh, you can guess. Traffico, that's the nightcap, 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. The early game, Union Cincinnati. Bunch of people who know each other playing with everything on the line. Also on FS1 and Fox Deportes. Charlie, we'll get to Union Cincinnati here in a little bit. Let's take a first look at El Traffico, LAFC Galaxy. No offense to Nashville. They've had a wonderful season. Hani Mukhtar is, I think, a deserving MVP. But any neutral that looked at this bracket was hoping that the Galaxy would get through and that we would get another playoff El Traffico. It was 5-3, if memory serves correct, back in 2019. What should we expect from this game?
Fireworks. Absolute fireworks. Last match, 3-2, LAFC, LA Galaxy won at home. Carlos Vela, Chicharito, you have all the storylines. But at the end of the day, this Galaxy team is a different team with Ricky Puig, with Bergman, and with Caceres in the back. Those 3 players change the dynamic. Now, we saw today, they are vulnerable when they try and play out of the back. Got to stop that. Stop. You're handing the team opportunities. When they start to play a lot more simple and not taking those chances and risks, then the game was much easier and they had the ball in the opponent's half. But they cannot. You give that to Nashville, fine. You give that to LAFC, you will be punished. So I think that's going to be the difference, is making sure you're sticking to the plan, keeping the game simple, and not trying to overcomplicate things in possession.
And both teams are different if you think about it, because at that point, I think the last time they played each other, Chiellini, I think it was his first game on the bench, and Bale was just in the crowd taking it all in from the suite. And then there was also no Dennis Bouanga. So you think about the different Tello, all these players that new look LAFC has had to really try and integrate towards the back stretch of the season. And they still ended up winning the Supporter Shield. So I think when you look at how much LAFC have changed, and then you also look at the Galaxy and what a different team it looks like with Puig and Brugman, it'll be kind of a first look between these two teams as far as, tons of history at this point in the rivalry. But I think when you look at this season, it's going to be hard to go back and really evaluate too much tape maybe on either team.
Tactical impressions early on, Doyle? Vibe impressions? How are you thinking about this one early?
Tactical impressions, it's the Galaxy really have only one way to win, and that's to use the ball in midfield, right? They're not good at playing against the ball at all. They don't defend well in their own box. So they need to come out and get, 55, 60% possession. And what we've seen over the past couple of years is LAFC are a lot more comfortable playing on the counter than they used to be. So I would expect the Galaxy to play on the front foot and LAFC to look to counter in behind, because the Galaxy's fullback just scored a goal today. He's going to push up. Raheem Edwards from left back is going to push up. Brugman's great, but he doesn't just sit and destroy. He'll push up from D-mid as well, and they'll ask a lot of those two center backs. So I would expect, whether Carlos Vela is healthy or not, whether Bale is factoring in or not, whoever starts at center forward, because with Steve Cherundolo, you never know. He clearly doesn't rate Chicharito all that highly. I would expect to see LAFC play against the ball a little bit, try to counter the Galaxy to death.
Thursday, the number ones enter the Audi 2022 MLS Cup Playoffs. Union Cincy get the night started, 8 p.m. Eastern, FS1 Fox Deportes. And then at 10 p.m., El Traffico. We got our wish, at least those of us like me who raise their hand and say, maximum entertainment, give it to me, playoffs. We are getting it from those number one matchups. By the way, a 4-seed are the Galaxy. 2 4-seeds played in MLS Cup next year. We'll see how far they can go, whether they can spring the upset against their in-city rivals. But let's put a bow on Nashville's season, Charlie, and I'll throw it to you on this one. You said in the first half in our chat that this reminded you of what you've seen from Nashville in the past. Maybe not the Nashville that we've praised at times this year. Did they have, in not having Dax, and what went wrong? Is this Nashville, or is there something more to it?
A lack of creativity. That's what it comes down to. Not enough dynamic players. You have Hani Mukhtar, but you can't rely on him. I know he had this amazing chance here, and you expect him to finish, especially given the season that he had. But you need more players. You need more game changers in the midfield. I don't like to use this word, but it was boring. You need to have a player who can beat you on the dribble, who can connect passes. You have Sean Davis and Anuga. Those two players are more protecting the back four, not very dynamic. And then Leal is more of an attacking number 10 or attacking winger that comes inside. And I just felt like they weren't playing to their strengths. They were very of Nashville of old. Sit back, defend, collect pressure, and then trying to expose you on the counter and find spaces in behind. They also had chances with their press. They set up pretty well. They forced LA Galaxy into bad spots. Galaxy were trying to play into those bad spots. You have to have, I think, a more composure, and the thought process has to be a little bit better from the Galaxy. But given that, Teal Bunbury, a player of his quality, he's got to finish that first chance on goal. It's him and the goalkeeper. Bond's in a bad position. Either the shot's got to be better, or you could have chopped them and you're in alone. And then I just feel like Nashville, heading into the offseason, they have a great foundation, but they need to add a couple more pieces if they want to take it to the next level.
The scary thing. Go ahead, Calen. No, you go ahead.
I think some of it comes down to the system, though, too. The personnel, sure, you can bring in some more players, but I think the system was set up to be pretty negative and to only attack with a couple players and to put too much on Hani, who's, yes, the MVP, but you're asking a lot of them to go against a back line that, can continue to send their outside backs forward. And then you have Brugman there and Delgado, who are mostly just sitting and protecting right in front of them, take an easy foul here and there in non-dangerous places. So Schaffelberg was the one guy that came in that actually gave them something. He gave them some life, that he could beat a guy on the dribble or do something unexpected. He's got the pace to stretch the field. So just overall, I thought the system itself was set up as well as some personnel decisions to really take a negative approach to the game. And if you do that against a talented Galaxy team that can manipulate the ball, then yeah, you're going to sit back and eventually they're going to break through. But I would expect LAFC, of course, not to do that, where they'll attack with much more numbers, even if it is more a counterattack where you would commit not just 2, but 3, 4 at times. And of course, they have different personnel to make that difference count as well.
Yeah, agree across the board with everything you guys just said. The one thing I'll add is that the elephant in the room for Nashville into next year is Ake Loba. They have a record signing, a DP number 9, the guy who was supposed to be the perfect complementary piece to Hani Mukhtar. He barely gets off the bench. He scored, maybe 3 goals in his MLS career in a year and a half. They have to figure out how to offload him or how to use him because it's clear what they have is not good enough to be an elite team anymore. They were almost there last year, but with Dax getting older, with Godoy getting older, they don't have enough, and they need that third DP to be a guy who can win them a match or two. So it's a big question for them because it's a big move they made and it's a big contract. But if they want to do big things, they got to figure that out this winter.
The offseason starts now for Mike Jacobs, Gary Smith, and Nashville. Some decisions to make as they build into 2023. Cincinnati, they're just looking ahead. They're making travel plans, going right down the road. You look, Pat Noonan, Chris Albright, real familiar with Chester and Philly. We will see what happens in that game on Thursday, but let's take a look back at earlier today. Cincinnati, their very first playoff appearance at Red Bull Arena. The Red Bulls, we know their history in the playoffs. It is not pretty, and it stayed that way. Up 1-0 though, Calen. Lewis Morgan, the banger, but then it got a little bit weird.
Yeah, well, the game started, actually, it suited Red Bull. They made it choppy. They made it difficult, traditional games that we see played at Red Bull Arena. And then they found a moment of magic from Lewis Morgan. But then all of a sudden, he comes off the pitch and you're confused as to what happened. You didn't see anything, whether it was during the strike or did it happen during the celebration? And from there, it started to switch. And I thought there was a real good tactical shift and a personnel decision made to take Sergio Santos and bring him on the pitch from Pat Noonan. Took off Brenner, who's been their top scorer, coming off a hat trick on decision day. But Sergio Santos changed the game. He was able to turn things around, use his pace to get in behind, stretch the field, and then, of course, find the wonderful pass in behind to Brandon Vazquez, who did a fantastic job of finishing it. So a bit of resilience from the Cincinnati team for it being their first time in the playoffs. Vazquez, it's his first playoff game. It was on Atlanta United when they won the championship, but did not feature at all in the playoff run. So I think this team proved a lot to themselves today more than anything. And then now they have a bigger task awaiting as they head up against a familiar foe with the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah, familiar foe. They've played really well against the Union multiple times this year. The other change that Pat Noonan made that I thought was really good was Yuya Kubo in central midfield coming on for Junior Moreno. If you look at the sequence leading up to that first goal for Cincinnati, it started with a big Kubo switch from right to left. He did this wonderful left-footed switch to open the game up. And there wasn't enough of that from Cincinnati for the first 60, 65 minutes. Pat Noonan talked about it afterwards, said, he repeatedly told the guys at halftime, and he was telling them throughout the second half, you have more time on the ball than you think. You can play through this. And over the last 20, 25 minutes of the game, they were finally able to do that. And then, of course, on the flip side, the Red Bulls were never able to do that. Everything that they did, they wanted to make the game just one car crash after another in central midfield. And you understand why, because when the game is that way, they are really tough to beat. But this is the playoffs, and we've seen year after year, that type of soccer doesn't go far in the postseason. It just doesn't, especially when you're at a talent deficit. And that was the story of this game.
Playoffs.
That's what they were saying in Cincy the last couple of years, Charlie. Playoffs? No, sir, weren't even close. Well, they get there this year, got in on decision day, sealed their place, and then in the first round, go to Red Bull Arena and win. It's a massive start to this postseason for them, and Brandon Vazquez is the hero. David Goss caught up with him on the field at Red Bull Arena after this win.
Brandon, let's start with this. Walk me through what you saw, Santos going down the sideline. How did you see that goal come together and the finish?
Yeah, they played a ball to Sergio, and it escaped him a little bit, but Sergio's a dog. He fought, he got there, and he put me a perfect ball on the penalty spot, and I finished it away. So, yeah, it was all Sergio's work right there.
Your mindset as that ball comes across, what are you thinking about?
Hitting the back of the net. just making good contact with the ball, putting it on target. That's exactly what I did.
It was a quiet first half. Then they score. You guys came back. Goal called off. What is it about this team that's able to overcome?
Oh, the fight we have is unbelievable, and you can tell the squad we never give up until the whistle's blown, and we came back tonight, and what a game we had.
You think about 12 months ago, sitting at home watching the playoffs. You're not scoring goals in MLS yet. How did you get to this point, and what are you thinking about when that final whistle blows?
You know, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to get an opportunity from these coaches, for them trusting in me. And yeah, I'm so damn proud of this group. The work we put in today is not taken for granted.
Philly, Thursday, what do you think?
We got it. We got it. We've done it before. We can do it again. We're ready.
Enjoy the pancakes.
Thank you.
If you don't understand the pancake reference, Brandon Vazquez eats pancakes pregame for every game. Now, that might be weird at night. It was very normal for this noon Eastern time game for FC Cincinnati. Look, Charlie, we've talked about this all year long on Extra Time. Brandon Vazquez has been one of the stories of the 2022 MLS season. 18 goals in the regular season, gets his 19th in the playoffs. Probably not going to the World Cup. You can debate whether that's the right decision or not, but you cannot debate that he's here, and it seems here to stay.
All you can do is focus on the task in front of you. That's all you can do, especially for Brandon Vazquez. There's all these distractions, but he's stayed on the course. And look at this commitment. This is the spot. I see where Sergio Santos is getting. I got to get to the penalty spot. I know this ball is going to come across, and then to stay composed with the finish, because it's so easy to give it all you got to get to that spot to beat the center back, but then you lose at the last second that concentration and you sky it over because it's so easy to lean back in that situation. He makes sure that his body's over the ball, keeps it low, and what a finish. It looks a lot easier than it is. You talk about the whole process from the start to the finish. Fantastic from Brandon Vazquez. So got me hyped for the kid. So I'm looking forward to seeing if he can do it against the Union, because again, it's a step in the process, the maturity of him as a striker. Your first full season, you're in the playoffs. The games mean a little bit more now. It's win or go home. Your team is relying on you for hold-up play, for making runs, to get fouls, and to score goals. That's your main job. Now you're going to the Union, where they've only given up 26 goals in the whole season. Both games you played against them, you've scored. Got to make it a third. 3 times, and you take this club to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're on the right path.
That's the thing that sticks out to me, is just the different tools that he has available. And I thought Doyle did a fantastic job in the pregame going through some of his hold-up play, which we saw in the first half. But then in that one, that's really just a turn and sprint. He's a big boy, right? He can hold the ball up, but when it comes down to going against Aaron Long, he just burned him. He just left him in the dust, and just completely has got the strength to hold off that first step, and then the acceleration to get in, a little bit of composure, sets his feet right to get the finish. And last week we saw him play provider on the assist. So he really has a lot of different things that he can do to help the team. But yeah, ultimately, like Chuck said, it comes down to goals. He got a big one in the moment that mattered and sent them through to the next round.
Going down in history. Cincinnati fans are never going to forget that. Brandon Vazquez will never forget it. Now, normally in the regular season, Doyle, we were accustomed to seeing that be a Brenner to Vazquez connection, but Pat Noonan did not hesitate. He took Brenner off early, and this is the difference maybe from the last few seasons, which you can see where all last place finishes, is you have a coach that understands MLS. You have a coach that's gotten the most out of a roster. You have a Cincinnati team that is not hapless. They're right there competing with the best in the league. This is a huge turnaround and a huge story.
It is. And, you know, they made some big additions to the roster. We haven't even mentioned Roman Celentano. He had a couple really nice saves in this one. A rookie goalkeeper. Ian Murphy, rookie center back they got out of the draft. He came in to finish us up. Obviously, Obina Nwabodo and Matt Miazga, big acquisitions for them. But a lot of these guys are guys who were there, and Pat Noonan is getting the most out of them. Guys like Brenner and Brandon Vazquez mainly. Lucho Acosta developing into a guy who I think was a top 5 MVP candidate this year. That speaks to culture more than anything else. And I love to talk about tactics, and we love to pick apart individual players and appreciate individual greatness as well. Like we all dig that, but culture is what wins in this game, whether it's at the highest level, whether it's in the national team, whether level, whether it's in MLS, if you have that ability to get guys to bring the best out of themselves and then put that at the service of the team, you're going to create something that wins and something that lasts. Now, you need a little luck too. I don't think Cincinnati's going to win MLS Cup this year. I don't think they're going to get past the Union, but they're going to give them hell, because that's the team that they have become in less than 1 year under these guys. It's really impressive. It's one of the best, year-to-year turnarounds I think we've ever seen in this league. And whatever happens when they face the Union, I know that I'm going to be looking forward to watching Cincinnati in 2023. And I would never, if you told me a year ago I would be sitting here saying that, I would have called you a liar to your face. There's no chance.
And I just wanted to add, Calen Carr, he touched on it earlier. When Brenner gets substituted, this guy has 18 goals. You need a goal. You're going to sub off your other star striker instead of maybe taking off a defender. You make that decision because, one, you have the courage as a coach to tactically see, man, Brenner's not making those runs that we need him to make that can really hurt this Red Bulls into the channels. Because it is 1v1 in a lot of cases, because the Red Bulls throw so many players forward and they shrink the field. So that switch is always on. And two, we just need someone who's going to get down those channels and be strong. So you make that sub and it works to perfection. So Pat Noonan having the instincts to see the game, read the game, and say, right now I got to make this substitution to change the game. He does just that. And then Aaron Long is no slouch when it comes to center backs with pace. I think that also highlights that, one, maybe he's not up to, being fully recovered from his injury, but two, Brandon Vazquez, he actually has some pace. He can get in behind. He can stretch back lines. So I think overall, it's just giving this Cincinnati team a lot more confidence to compete with the absolute best in the Eastern Conference, which is the Philadelphia Union.
3 goals in that match, 1 goal in our afternoon game. That's 4 goals total. And look, the Audi Goals Drive Progress program is back for another year of playoff soccer. So what do 4 goals mean? That means money. For every goal scored in the Audi MLS Cup Playoffs, $2,000 is going to be contributed to the Audi Goals Drive Progress Fund that directly supports MLS youth academies. Thanks to the 4 goals scored so far, and many more to come, I got to say. $8,000 has been donated. So that's awesome stuff to go support these youth academies. You saw Julian Araujo as well. He's part of that. He was a player that got a goal today. And don't forget, you can visit BR Football's Instagram page and tune into the Driving Force story for match previews and highlights of the Audi MLS Cup Playoffs. Most electric moments, of which we had a couple today. Go tune in at BR Football. All right, let's send you back out to LA. Susanna Collins caught up with Chicharito after this match.
Chicha, listen to these fans. The first home playoff game in 6 years for the Galaxy, and you get the win. What does this moment mean for you?
It means a lot. It means a lot. You can see the chemistry that we're doing, that we're building. All our families are over here in the field, celebrating with them. Yeah, since last season we said that we want to be consistent, that we want to be in the playoffs, and we want to fight for the championship, And yeah, we did the first step, but since tomorrow we need to focus in our neighbors and try to plan that the difficult game that's going to be in their home.
Your neighbors, LAFC, are up next on Thursday night, and this is a rivalry that always seems to deliver. It always seems to bring the drama. What are the next few days going to look like for you guys as you get ready for that one?
We're going to be in the same mindset and the same mentality. We're going to plan the most difficult game like we planned this one against Nashville, and then, yeah, we're going to plan our game, trying to go over there and win to get through.
Are you going to text Carlos Vela ahead of this one, getting his head a little bit?
No, I'm going to speak with him in the stadium.
Congrats, Chicha.
No text. We'll see each other when we see each other. Thursday night, Bank of California Stadium, Tempe, Eastern, FS1 Fox Deportes. El Traffico in the playoffs once again. Chicharito had a moment tonight, Charlie. It's not his fault that, it's not his fault that a cleat caught Hani Mukhtar, and then the video assistant referee caught that and brought it back, and Armando Villarreal said, okay, no goal. But Chicharito, he's sort of been the inspiration for this team, even if Ricky Puig has maybe been the guy that's pushed them over the top. How much does Thursday mean to Chicharito, given his history in LA so far, which is not covered in playoff glory?
No, it's not. And a lot of credit should go to Chicharito, because in that goal, his run pulls defenders out of space. and then it leaves Julian Araujo in the back post where he has an open header, where he can just guide it home. So Chicharito is the heart and soul of this club, and it comes with the expectations that you need to deliver for us. You're the big striker, getting all the money. You're leading the line, and I think he's done a fantastic job of being a leader. When they lose, he puts it on himself. When he misses, he puts it on himself. He misses a PK, it's all me. And he's not running in the locker room with a bad attitude and throwing his shirt all over the place. He goes and does an interview. I give him a ton of credit for the way he's handled himself, the way he's carried himself, the way he's helped teammates. Everyone I've spoken to that's played with him have said he's been incredible, an incredible teammate, incredible in training, off the pitch, talking to players, helping players. And in the game, he works. You can see he works on both sides of the ball. He wants it. That's all you could ask for from a DP. So from that standpoint, I mean, is not a better player to root for if you're a neutral in Chicharito.
Mexico could use a guy like that at the World Cup. Just saying.
I think the structure around him has improved a lot, because when Charlie mentioned that's all you can ask for, at times they were asking too much of Chicharito. They were asking him to come back and get involved in the build-up play because they didn't have a connector like Puig. Now they are saying, okay, yeah, use that movement, but use it in and around the box. Get in there. Don't worry about anything else. Get out there and score some goals. There is still huge pressure on him, though. And I think if you want to talk about legacy, which I know we talk about this all the time, I sat down with him when he signed in Seville, and he said, I'm coming for trophies. And that's been the Galaxy way. They hosted the Tifo banner beforehand. It said Race to Seis, or Chapter 6, the comeback. Like, he is the central figure in that. And I agree 100%, Charlie, that he is the heart and soul of this team. But I think actually lessening some of the load as far as the structure of the team is going to get the best out of him. But there's big pressure, and that's why Thursday is right there. It's right in front of us, because he's got a couple more to go. But the line is definitely for them trophies. That's, even if the Galaxy haven't been in and around it, that's still the standard there.
Pressure on the Galaxy, pressure on Chicharito, certainly pressure on LAFC. This is what it's all about for them. Winning MLS Cup, the Shield, that was nice, but it really is not enough. Meanwhile, it wasn't Chicharito, it wasn't Ricky Puig. They weren't the heroes on this day. It was Julian Araujo with his first goal of the season in the biggest possible moment. Susanna Collins caught up with Julian on the field in LA.
Well, Julian, you picked a pretty good time to get your first goal of the season, your first playoff goal. Can you describe what that moment was like for you?
It's everything to me. You know, my whole life I've been working for opportunities and moments like these, and to be able to be in a position to win a trophy and just to help contribute to the team. It was a team effort. We all played 100% through the final whistle, from the first whistle to the final, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm very grateful to do it in front of my family, in front of these amazing fans.
It seemed like in the second half you guys came out with a different level of energy. You had some chances. You hit the crossbar. What was working in that second half, in that build up to that goal especially? Yeah,
we knew that their outside wing backs were going to press on our guys in the midfield, and we wanted just our wide outside backs to get forward. First half we had a lot of opportunities, and you know, we just built up that. We were all in good spirits going into halftime, and yeah, we knew we just needed one goal to end this game.
The hometown boy, and now you're going to face your crosstown rivals, LAFC, on Thursday night. The last time I talked to you, it was ahead of another El Traffico edition. Yep. You guys have done pretty well in this series. What's it going to take for you guys to get the dub on Thursday?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. You know, it's one that we all know. We know what it means. They know what it means. Our fans know what it means, and we're going to go out there and do whatever we can. It's going to be a tough game for both teams. We're just going to try to play our game, break them down, and hopefully get a goal in, and yeah, bring the 3 points home.
Enjoy this moment, Julian. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the time.
G's up, pink hair, on trend. Julian Araujo, the hero, the local boy, talking about Chicharito trying to go to a World Cup. Not going to happen for him, but maybe if Julian Araujo has a big MLS Cup playoffs, he might be going to Qatar with Mexico. We shall see. The first two games of the Audi 2022 MLS Cup playoffs are in the books. You know, Galaxy are moving on. El Traffico on Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. The early game on that Thursday, another one seed, the Union, hosting FC Cincinnati, the 5 seed, winning their first ever MLS Cup playoff game. And the coach that led them there is Pat Noonan. And oh, by the way, Pat Noonan is a former assistant at Philadelphia. Oh, and by the way, Chris Albright, the man who helped build this team this year, is a former front office executive in Philly as well. It's going to be a huge matchup with a bunch of close ties. David Goss caught up with Pat Noonan after that victory at Red Bull Arena.
All right. That was entertaining. That was fun. Quiet first half. I talked to Brandon a bit about it. You go behind. The goal called off. What is it about this team in the second half to overcome those difficulties?
I haven't been in these moments before and finding ways to succeed when things weren't perfect and, getting behind, finding some composure and, understanding that we have a group, whether it's the starters, the guys that are coming in that can make a difference and change the outcome of the game. And I think, the guys that started the game, even though the first half wasn't pretty, I almost think the goal helped us to play a little bit because up until that point, it was
just talking about what we already addressed.
Guys that came in made a difference.
Coming off of this interview, right,
Anders?
Anders?
Strong, and that's why we're talking right now about a win.
Yep.
Sergio Santos comes in mid-season. You obviously know him from Philly. It's been up and down for him here. Is this what you expect from him?
It is. He's a difference maker. Whether he's starting or coming off, he just has a unique quality that with his speed, he can cause a lot of problems. And you saw it on the goal, his ability to create separation, but also the composure to find the right pass and Brandon's commitment to get in front of goal. It was impressive, and it was a good finish to a nice sequence there.
I asked you pregame. Now your thoughts? What does a playoff win mean year one for you guys?
It was a step up from last week in getting into the playoffs, and now we're here. We know what it looks like. It feels like to win. All right, let's see if we can keep that going.
We're going to have to watch a lot of tape. Philly next game. What do you think about that matchup with Jim?
I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game. Having worked with Jim, he's going to have them motivated, knowing those players. They're going to be ready, and it's going to be very difficult. We're going to have to be really sharp in every aspect of the game if we want to find success and a win.
Well, congratulations today. Enjoy it.
This is an interesting plot line, Charlie. A couple guys that know each other very, very well. I don't think Pat Noonan has to watch that much tape of Philly, to be honest. I think he's pretty familiar with what the Union are going to do and what they want to do. What do you think about this matchup? It's sort of poetry in a way. Those guys go to Cincy, they rebuild everything, and now you have a matchup in the playoffs.
Well, you know exactly how Philly play. Very narrow, and they use their width from their outside backs. They're great in transition. Fantastic. And they have Andre Blake in goal. Goalkeeper of the year. It's going to be very difficult. Now, their strikers aren't proven in the playoffs yet either. So I'd say that's probably where, if you had to pick one weakness of this Union team, and they don't have many weaknesses, you'd say the attacking players, the strikers. They haven't excelled in a playoffs yet, in a playoff series. So I think for me, that's where you watch. And if you're watching this game and Pat Noonan is there, he's saying, guys, we know how they play. He's done a good job twice this year. The only way I see the Union really coming alive is if Miko Ura and Julian Carranza can combine and do something special up top, because otherwise I think Cincinnati, they have a great game plan so far, and I think Jim Curtin may try to tweak some things here or there.
Yeah, I mean, Curtin can do that, right? Jack McGlynn can come in. We've seen him switch right backs. He's tweaked things a little bit here and there. But the thing about playing against Cincy is they're going to give up chances. Against the Red Bulls, they give up chances. Then against Philly, they're going to give up chances. And it is going to come down to Gazdag, Ura, and Carranza finishing those chances off. With Cincy, though, guys, we made this clip to preview the Red Bull game to show how Cincy could play over the Red Bull press. But we actually chose a clip from the games against the Philadelphia Union because Brandon Vazquez has been so wildly effective in both of his games against the Union this year, just getting into soft spots between the lines, using his touch, using his hold-up play and vision to then spring Lucho Acosta and Brenner, creating chance after chance after chance. In the second game against the Union, which ended up 3-1 to Cincinnati, Cincy didn't even play through the midfield. They just skipped it every time. They just launched directly to Brandon Vazquez, and he was able to have his way with both Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott, who I think I had them 1 and 2 on my Defender of the Year ballots. That has been the game plan for Cincy. It has worked. If Jim Curtin's going to tweak anything, it has to be something about that, because they can't make it that easy for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's shown that they can hurt you if you let them get upfield that quickly and that easily. That's the big thing. I think the one thing that is probably going to keep Jim Curtin up for the next couple of nights.
Yeah, we joke about Pat Noonan watching film. You better believe once that thing went final, you know what Jim Curtin was doing. He was firing up. Got to go see what those previous matchups look like, get the game plan together. There are more games to come before Thursday, and those number 1 seeds enter the fray. Tomorrow, 2 seeds come in, 7 seeds in town. Austin, Salt Lake, ABC, ESPN Deportes, 3 p.m. Eastern. Austin looking to keep their magical run going as well. Montreal, Orlando is at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We have a post-game show right here on MLS channels at the conclusion of that Montreal-Orlando game, and then on Monday, you've got your 3 seeds and your 6 seeds. New York City hosting Inter Miami at Citi Field, 7 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. FC Dallas hosting Minnesota in the West at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Again, FS1, Fox Deportes. And once again, a post-game show right here on MLS channels. Calen, tell me what you're thinking right now. What's your gut say about Austin RSL?
I'm feeling this Austin game. I'm hyped for this one because we've seen throughout the regular season or the last 2 years what Austin looks like as an environment. One of the best in MLS. But we haven't seen it in the playoffs yet. In fact, we didn't get close last year. This was the lowest scoring team in MLS. I think just 25 goals in the entire year. They scored 5 on opening day this year against Cincinnati, which is a little bit of a sign of things to come, at least for them. So I think, that atmosphere, I want to see what that's like. Driussi probably going to miss out on the MVP. I think Hani Mukhtar was still the MVP for me, but Fagundes has been so good. So I want to see that atmosphere, Stuver. But then, you know what happens to expansion teams? They have to go through a little bit of a learning curve. We saw it with Atlanta United. We saw it with LAFC. Does that happen to Austin? You know who LAFC lost to? Real Salt Lake. Who have been known
Don't do it to him.
Been known to play spoiler in the playoffs, sometimes without even registering a shot on goal. That's how they can do it. Pablo Mascherani has got these guys going at the right time of year. Probably still going to pick Austin, but I think this RSL team with the weapons that they have, getting some goals, hitting the back of the net last week, Savarino, I think they could make some noise and maybe upset Austin. So that's one to watch for me.
You know what? We haven't looked at brackets here. I know mine's perfect. I know Charlie and I both picked Montreal to go all the way to the MLS Cup final. But Charlie, for them to get there, they've got to start it off by beating Orlando City, who I compared them to David and Goliath. Like, all they need is one rock, man. They might not pummel you, but if they land that one rock, you might be going down.
That's right. But it's very difficult to aim that one rock at a big giant. So what I'm telling you, though, is Orlando gets that massive win to head into the postseason on decision day. All the pressure's on them to win. They do. They beat the Crew. But they've lost 4 of their last 6 matches. That to me is it's not pointing me in the right direction. It's not giving me the hope and the confidence to say I'm going to back Orlando City. They're 5-6-6 on the road versus Montreal, who has 1 loss in their last 15 matches. They are on a crazy run. They've won 4 straight heading into this. And what I love about Montreal is it's not just one goal scorer. It's not a Brenner and a Vazquez who have 18 goals each, and then a Lucho Acosta. No, it's Kyoto, it's Kamara, it's Mihailovic, it's Lapalainen, it's Johnston, it's Wanyama, and Ishmael Kone. They have so many players who can score goals. I think Wilfred Nancy is the coach of the year for me, being able to help this team progress and have great ideas on how to play. It's fluid. Defensively, I've always been cautious of them, but it seems like they finally figured out a way to have stability in the back. And so for me, this Montreal team at home is going to be really difficult to beat because they can hurt you so many different ways.
4 more games in this first round. Then it's on to the conference semifinals. We know those matchups next Thursday. They are absolutely delicious. Ricky Puig destroying the league. Not yet, but maybe here in a little bit. He's been very, very good, Doyle. What's your last thought before we get out of here for the day?
4 goals today. All 4 came in the second half. I'm looking for somebody to come out from the gun tomorrow. Come out flying. Give us some drama in the first 10 minutes. Like it's decision day all over again. Come on now.
Yeah, let's get that. 3 p.m. Eastern, Austin FC at Q2. Verde and Black, they are going to paint that thing all day long. It's going to be really, really fun. RSL in town. We know their upset ability. And then, of course, Montreal, Orlando in the nightcap at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. Thank you so much for following along at MLSsoccer.com, on the MLS app, YouTube, Twitch, on Twitter. We've had a great time today kicking off the Audi 2022 MLS Cup Playoffs with you, and they continue tomorrow and Monday. Enjoy the games, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday night. Sunday comes quick. Be ready.